So in this video, I'm going to show how to create a web API HTTP endpoint using nothing but SQL. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to need an example database. So I'm going to go to Tools here, and go to Plugins, and I'm going to install Chinook, SQLite Chinook DB. This installs a database for me that is called Chinook, and it also gives me a bunch of example SQL. Now I can go to SQL Studio, I can choose my Chinook database, I can hold down Option L or Alt L on Windows. I can load example scripts that were installed at the same time I installed the database. Now this script, for instance, returns the number of, I think it's album, grouped with artist name. So Iron Maiden created 21 albums, Led Zeppelin created 14, etc. Now, at this point, I can parameterize where AR dots, for instance, name, like, and then I can do %. Let's try to execute this guy, and it didn't work because we had two where statements here. So let's change this one to an and. And now we're seeing record count only for artists that have a name starting out with the character A, right? So now we can go to the CRUD generator. Then we can choose SQL, and then we can choose the database. Then we can yet again load the same script, and we can apply the same and clause and AR dot name like at filter. So this thing's important because this becomes an SQL parameter that we can reference in our SQL. We now need to add it to the endpoint filter type string, and we have now parameterized our SQL with an HTTP argument that will be added as an SQL parameter, avoiding SQL injection issues and stuff like that, to be able to dynamically modify the actual SQL that is executing. Now we can change authorization requirements for this endpoint. These are roles, legally allowed to invoke the endpoint. We can change the verb if we want to. We can change the primary URL. And we can change the secondary URL. Let's call it record count. And then we can just generate it. And we now have an HTTP endpoint. We can go to endpoints. We can filter on record count. And here's our endpoint. Now if we add the argument %, now, then we get the same result as we got while we executed the SQL directly inside of SQL Studio. We can change it to B %. Hopefully there are some artists starting out with B, and there were, etc., etc.